Over to the Herald Sun now. Obviously, we're going to touch on this tasteless cash grab in a second, but isolation changes looming. Really interesting yarn by Mitch Clark on the front tomorrow that Victorian schools will no longer be subject to campus-wide lockdowns during COVID-19 outbreaks, and the length of quarantine could be reduced as a part of an isolation overhaul. As contact tracers battle to keep up with the rising case numbers, health authorities are reviewing the standard 14-day isolation period for primary close contacts or those who have visited a Tier 1 exposure site. Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton said most close contacts, particularly household members, tested positive within a week, but it might be 7 days, it might be 10, but it really does depend on your risk of becoming a positive case. I think this is the news that they probably wanted to hear, considering Melbourne made its way into the history books as being the most lockdown city in the world right now. Makes sense, doesn't it? You're vaccinated, you should get some freedom.
And that's what we're indicating as well with home quarantine. It would be 7 days for people arriving from overseas. So that's where it's heading. If you had 2 jabs, these are the sort of privileges that the vaccinated, which should be every single person in Australia who's possibly able to have the jab, should be afforded.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Tasteless cash grab is greedy council slug COVID-hit cafes and bars. This story makes my blood boil, considering these poor buggers in Melbourne. And it is Sydney Melbourne Council wants to slug eateries battling through lockdowns up to $5,000 a year for every car space used for outdoor dining in a move dubbed a greedy cash grab by irate business owners. Cafes on strips including Smith and Brunswick streets will be forced to fork out the exorbitant fee under a plan from the Greens-led Yarra City Council. They never fail to cover themselves in glory, do they?
If this decision is not overturned by close of business tomorrow...
If not by the time the Herald Sun hit stands tomorrow morning.
Put yourself in the bin. If you're a councillor and you're going to slug these businesses that have been shut and had the world record for using a parking bay so they can have outdoor dining.
To be responsible.
My goodness. Like, why have you run for office? Why are you a local councillor? Resign. Put yourself in the bin, and I never want to hear from you again.
And not the recycling bin at all.
No.
For sure. On to some good news. The Courier Mail, obviously, you and I were glued to the grand final last night. The highlight for me was definitely the Brian To'o engagement.
It was cute, wasn't it? I don't know about that ring, though. Would you really want the NRL ring as your engagement ring?
Well, I love the fact that obviously we've got a beautiful photo on the front of the Courier tomorrow. And as I was telling producer Chloe off air, I feel that his poor fiance's engagement ring pales in comparison to the premiership ring.
Yeah, look, I don't know, but didn't he give the premiership ring to her?
He did.
That's what I mean. And it's quite an ugly ring, to be perfectly honest.
Look, any ring's nice. Interestingly, one really great yarn on the front of the Courier, which will have a lot of people laughing into their well-powered home. China coal moves fail. That's China is facing an ongoing power crisis and rolling outages as it sticks to its snub of Australian coal, with exports dropping to less than 1% of previous shipments. The coal ban has been described as a disastrous failure by one foreign policy expert, who said that desperate Beijing could be forced to temporarily lift its unofficial sanction and finally pay for Aussie coal at inflated prices. This is a bit of I told you so, isn't it?
Well,
you bite your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, isn't it, where you want to be a 3-year-old and poke your tongue out and, wave your arms around, which I'm not going to do on national television. Don't want to embarrass myself, but exactly right. I mean, it's just to cut your nose off to spite your face. It's ridiculous. And they'll come grovelling. They'll come grovelling. They need the coal. I know. And it'll be a very interesting conversation.
And then what comes next? When the Penfolds Grange runs out, we need the wine. And when the Wagyu runs out, we need the beef. And then when the barley, And
then the crayfish.
Yeah.
The West Aussie crayfish.
I forgot all about how there were so many sanctions there are.